I think he's definitely getting a little more vocal within the building, and he kind of reminds me of Scotty Scheffler, but except for that he got arrested. But.
I love the intersport shade, okay? This is reaching a whole new level.
This is SportsCenter.
Hey, Marissa Roberto on Game 2 between the Panthers and Rangers goes down at MSG tonight with a lot on the line. The Panthers struck first on the road, taking a 1-0 series lead. And so far this postseason, Florida has been a lot more comfortable away from the Sunshine State, as they're 5-1 on the road. And if you add in their run for the Cup final last year, their road record the past 2 postseasons is an incredible 13-5, with 3 of those 5 losses coming to Vegas in the Cup final, which, if you really think about it, is a wild stat. Game 1 had a bunch of heroes for the Panthers, but Sergei Bobrovsky was once again front and center. In his last 6 games, Bob has allowed a total of 8 goals and has a .936 save percentage. In other words, elite. What might be more important for Florida going forward, though, is Matthew Tkachuk got going again. In the Boston series, Tkachuk managed to score just 1 goal in 6 games, and was held off the score sheet entirely half the series. He's got 3 points in his last 2 now, though, including scoring a goal for the first time in 5 games. For New York, they have been home cooking prior to Game 1, but they've now lost 2 straight at MSG, and have scored just once in those games while allowing 7 goals. Igor Shesterkin has been really good this postseason, but there might be a little cause for concern. Over his last 4 games, he's given up 12 goals. And if they're going to make a run at the Cup, he's going to need to turn that around, especially when considering his previous 7 games. He had a .935 save percentage, and just a .900 save percentage in his last 4. I mean, I don't know, guys. When you don't have a dog in the fight, it's fun to see these goalie stats. To the association, it's a crucial Game 2 tonight in the Western Conference Finals, as the Wolves desperately need a win at home, or they're in some real trouble against Dallas. While Game 1 was a back-and-forth battle to the bitter end, T-Wolves coach Chris Finch unloaded on his team in the Game 1 film session. I told the guys it's been a long time since I've been this disappointed in your effort. Your performance, your attitude, your application, and attention to detail just wasn't there. The Western Conference Finals started, not sure if they got the memo, but they got it this afternoon. Damn, when your dad talks to you like that, you know it's for real, for real. You know what I'm talking about, Frank. You know, he's so nice until he's not nice, okay? I don't know if this is like an Italian dad thing, but yikes. But the way Kyrie and Luka were playing in Game 1, I'm not even sure a locked-in T-Wolves defense could have even done anything, as the Mavs duo absolutely torched Mini, combining for 63 points, and Luka especially late as he was getting whatever he wanted. But this is no surprise to Mavs fans, as they've been a force on the road these playoffs, as they're 5-2 away from home. And you can watch Game 2 between the Mavs and Timberwolves tonight on TSN. Coverage begins at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific. Now joined by our gambling guy, Wes Cheng. Great to see you, Wes.
Hey, great to see you, Marissa.
Wes, we had a wonderful Game 1 between the Mavs and T-Wolves. Did you notice any trends Wednesday that you think could be profitable for the rest of the series?
Yeah, the Mavericks scored 62 points in the paint. I feel like that could be an anomaly. The Mavs were a below average team. When it came to scoring in the paint, Minnesota was the best defense in the league. They were second best at keeping opponents from scoring in the paint. The Mavericks shot 6 of 25 from the 3-point line. If the Minnesota Timberwolves are going to do any adjustments, they're probably going to push Dallas to shoot more on the perimeter. So I'd be looking at taking the under on guys like Daniel Gafford, guys like Derek Lively. They did a good job of trying to neutralize some of those lob threats, and I think that's going to be even more amplified in Game 2.
All right, Wes, you know I've got to ask. Give us your best bet for tonight.
I like Kyrie Irving to go over his point prop. He went off in this game, and I have a crazy stat for you. He scored 13 first quarter points in this one. In all first quarters in the previous round, he only scored 9 points total. So what that tells me, Dallas clearly made a directive for Kyrie to get going early, and he delivered. Had nothing to do with his skill set. It was more a usage thing. In order for Dallas to win the series, Kyrie has to play at this level, and I think they're going to keep asking for this type of volume from him.
Wes Cheng, a pleasure as always.
Hey, thank you.
And you can watch Game 2 between the Mavs and Timberwolves tonight on TSN. Coverage begins at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific. Absolutely electric scenes in Bologna. Time now for my favorite segment and yours, Why We Love Sports Today.
Why we love sports today.
Okay, so let's start with a little Serie A because you know that we don't talk enough Italian sports on the show. Bologna has had a magical season and qualified for the Champions League for the first time in their history. The only time they've ever played top-flight European football was in the old European Cup in the 64-65 season. So understandable why this party was so electric. una bella festa in la piazza d'Italia. Come on. These are my people, even though sometimes they don't claim me because I don't speak very good Italian. So, anyway, and you know what? Shame on you, Juventus, for taking their manager. Now joined by our guy, Tim Hauraney, to talk a magical weekend of racing. And Tim, is this your favorite weekend of the year?
Marissa Thee, hello. Thanks very much for having me. I would say this particular weekend is probably like top 2, top 3 for me. Canada, the Canadian GP is number 1. In my books, I absolutely love that entire weekend, and it's awesome.
Wow, I thought you had energy on a normal day. This is next level. Let's start with Monaco, a race and place I love. Max won in Italy last week, but it really felt closer than his normal dominance. A week ago, we asked about the Red Bull window closing. Even if it is closing, should Max be the heavy favorite heading into each race weekend?
Yeah, I would say the window is closing on Red Bull Racing. I think all of the teams that we've seen so far bring big updates like McLaren and Ferrari. All of that's really starting to pay off for them. Coming into Imola, I thought, Ferrari was going to be the strongest team out there. It turns out it was McLaren, and then coming into Monaco, it looks like it's Ferrari this weekend, and my money's on Charles Leclerc. Again, Marissa, to try and grab this win here in Monaco, his hometown race. He's been denied so many times. He's got to win this weekend, but as it goes for Red Bull Racing, they look like they've really struggled in free practice 1 and free practice 2 so far on Friday, and heading into qualifying, which is so important in Monaco. I mean, I think Max Verstappen is going to have to pull out one of the qualifying laps of his life if he wants to get pole position and have a chance at trying to win in Monaco this weekend.
Okay, real quick on IndyCar, what's the biggest storyline you're fired up about this weekend?
I mean, there are a bunch of huge storylines coming into the Indy 500. And one of the biggest ones, I think, is probably the one of Kyle Larson, the NASCAR driver who's doing what's called the double. So he's going to do the Indy 500, which he's qualified really well for the Indy 500, and then switching gears and going all the way over and doing the Coke 600. That is a test of endurance, and it's going to be fascinating to see how that plays out. But looking at that front row, I mean, Team Penske looks absolutely incredible, and I wouldn't be surprised if Joseph Newgarden came away with his second Indy 500 victory.
Tim Hauraney, a pleasure as always. Cannot wait to see you in Montreal in just over a week.
Oh, Marissa, I can't wait. Thanks very much for having me, and thanks, producer Chris.
And you can watch both races this weekend on TSN. It starts Sunday morning with the Monaco Grand Prix at 7:30 a.m. Eastern, 4:30 a.m. Pacific. Then right after that is the Indy 500 at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. That's it for me today. My Cugine will be filling in for me on Monday. Have an amazing weekend.